I think it sounds really cool. It sounds really cool. I would never associate the two together.
I mean, my main musical thing that I was working on there was like, how much can I distort the piano? And there's a part of me where you go like, okay, if I distort it to a certain point, it doesn't sound like piano anymore. And so the musical part of me is going like, how close can I get to this to being totally distorted and still being recognizable as piano?
No, fair enough. MadAndersons?
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. So, your vocal delivery is so distinctive; it's just sort of an understated theatricality, for lack of a better term. And you were talking, well, no, I mean you were talking about
phrase of the night, Catherine.
Pardon?
Said phrase of the night.
Oh.
Understated theatricality. Yes. Okay, go on.
I was wondering how you actually. I always feel like you are. It's a bit of a character telling the story, or telling the lyrics. How did you actually develop that character or that vocal style?
That's so interesting because I happen to come from a family that is musical in the sense not that they are musicians, but that they appreciate music. And the first albums in my house growing up were Simon & Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Nice.
And the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. And when I was 18, jumping much farther ahead, my father, for my birthday, took me to see the Station to Station tour with David Bowie.
Nice.
And I remember he said, he was explaining to some pot-smoking girls in front of us that La Chine Andalou was not an opening act, but a surrealist film. So I grew up listening to lots of opera, lots of classical music, also lots of popular music. And so I never developed the idea that you were supposed to have a voice that was just that voice, you as a person. Also, I would not consider myself naturally a singer. So what works for me best is to inhabit a story, although I'm moving away from that. So the vocalists I tend to enjoy are people who are strong storytellers. David Bowie, Lou Reed, Tom Waits, Laurie Anderson. More recently, Anna Calvi, Lone Lady, people like that, who use the voice not as like, here's who I am as a brand, but here's the voice as an instrument serving the purpose of larger art. The other piece that's interesting too is I'm not always very confident about my vocals, and so if I can inhabit a personality or a persona, then I tend to relax a bit. So if you were going to ask me, let's sing, John Henry or something like that, I'd be saying like, well, who am I? Well, I'm singing this. I wouldn't just say, let me sing this. I'd say, who am I? Am I the steam engine? Am I John Henry? Who am I?
Got it. Great answer.
No one? You speechless?
Well, I'll go back to mechanics. I was looking at your Twitter page today, and you have quite an impressive array of synths in your possession. Do you have a go-to instrument, or?
I don't. I tend to buy things, use them, sell them, buy something new. I tend to like analog, just because I like the way it feels and sounds and what I can do to it. I'm this peculiar mixture of, I just want to get the notes down, get a chord progression, but I also want to be able to do things to the sounds themselves. I am definitely not a pure synthesist. I know those people. And they're the people who will like buy a large modular synth and play with it for hours. I'm not one of those. I'm like, okay, let me get something interesting and play with it. I actually like piano a lot. I'm not particularly a good pianist, but I'm not sure how many people are actually good pianists out there.
Not me. I took lessons
So partly what I do with synthesizers is use them to disguise my defects as a keyboard player, and reverb and LFO and things like that help. I like things that will be syncopated, percussive, that sort of thing. I tend to gravitate towards synthesizers that will do that.
Very cool.
Are you working in MIDI very much at all, or
zero? I was having a conversation. I have a friend who's in a band called Natural Blonde here in New Orleans, and they're a guitar-based band, although they use electronics and keyboards in very interesting ways. And Jordan's question to me is like, "You have this album out. Are you going to do a record release party?" I'm like, "Well, what is that exactly?" And Jordan said, "Well, you get up and you play some of your songs." I said, "Well, I'm not sure that's possible." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, I would have to relearn the parts or teach them to someone else. And, he was kind of puzzled for a minute, then he got it. I mean, that's not who I am as a musician. I kind of operate in a studio environment, and that's what I do. Although the idea of playing live is very appealing in some ways, but I would like someone else to do all the work.
Right on. Well, just before we get to the next song here, the one question I had, we're kind of jumping back a little bit here, but when you're talking about music and kind of go-to music, do you have a go-to album, not necessarily for inspiration, but just an album that you go to, you listen to every once in a while and think why haven't I listened to this in a long time? It's such a great album.
Oh gosh, yeah. There are a couple of them. The second Roxy Music album, For Your Pleasure, is definitely one. One of the fascinating things when you listen to early Roxy music is the production, pre-digital, all kinds of things, totally thought out production. Then a recent album that I listen to a lot over and over again is a Canadian band, guitar-driven band called July Talk. Fabulous EP called Guns and Ammunition. And also, although she's not Canadian, sorry to say, is a fabulous London musician named Anna Colvey, who was trained as a violinist and never sang until about 4 years ago, or played guitar until 6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Fabulous musician. Fabulous stuff. And then the last one I would say that I get to a lot is a lady from Manchester. Can't remember her actual given name, but she goes under the moniker of Lone Lady.
Okay.
And she's very fascinating. She works on an aesthetic called brutalism. But the music is very much like if you cross New Order and Talking Heads.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yep. Totally cool stuff.
No kidding. Now, the reason why I was asking that question in specific is because just the other day, I kind of, we'll call it rediscovered, and one of my go-to albums I've listened to a long time, and many people may not be for this, but this is one of my favorite albums, and came out in 1989, and it was a Faith No More album called The Real Thing, and it was the introduction of Mike Patton to the band, because before that, there was a different singer, I can't remember his name right now, but they canned him after the first album, and they brought Mike Patton in, and Mike Patton said, "I will do this on condition of," he had a side, still has the record label, and he got a bunch of side bands, but he had a side band at the time called Mr. Bungle, and he said, "I will do this on condition I can still do Mr. Bungle," and said, "No, what? That's fine, absolutely." He's like, "All right, I'm in, no problem." So he did 3 albums with him, including an EP, because he did The Real Thing, then there was Angel Dust, and then the last big album was called King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. And then there's an EP called Songs to Make Love To, which was more of a joke EP, but it was it was still pretty funny because there's a German love song, and let me tell you honestly, even if they didn't mean it to be, it was actually a pretty funny scene to kind of laugh at because the lyrics were so funny. But the point being is with those albums is I just love listening to old Jim Martin recordings because his guitar style was so specific, and even the way it was recorded. I just love listening to it. And today I was actually driving around doing some errands, and I listened to the Real Thing in its entirety, all the way through. I was like, man, I love this album. And favorite song off that album is actually an instrumental called "Woodpeckers from Mars," and but yeah, that is my go-to. That's my number one go-to right there.
Well, Faith No More, interesting. They actually did a big collaboration with Sparks.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Who are a totally underrated, hugely influential band in so many ways. Not MadAndersons in the folk acoustic world, but in actually an interesting mixture of things. I would say in the folk acoustic world, because they actually stretch the boundaries of what popular music is supposed to be,
right.
Which I think is what popular musicians are supposed to do. This is what's wrong with the Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber stretches his hairstyle. Okay?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because we used to apologize for Bryan Adams. Now we're apologizing for Justin Bieber.
Well, you know what? We should go back and praise Bryan Adams. It's all a matter of perspective.
That's right. All right, so we're going to get to another song off the new Kenny Trash album. This one is called Presidents. Dig this.
Everything you build is underwater and your highest roofs shine like the devil's back, and your deepest streets are painted black. And you're praying to those presidents that you trusted. You're praying to those presidents of the shine. Some walk 'cause they want to, some walk 'cause they do, and some walk 'cause they must. And that's why I talk to you, and that's why you pray to those presidents you trusted. Those presidents who shine eyes are rusted shit. Are you on to the dust, to the dust? And listen, what are God's powers now? Everything's flowers. And with the reason you find that the wood is dark, it's the insanity essence of trust to something to be dependent. As you pray to those presidents you trusted, those presidents who shine eyes are rusted shit. Some walk 'cause they want to, some walk 'cause they must, and some walk 'cause they ought to the stations of the cross. When they're praying to those presidents they trusted, those presidents who shine eyes and rusted shut. When they're praying to those presidents they trusted. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum.
Kenny Trash with Presidents. Now, Peter, this one was a little different just because of the different, I'm not sure if there were synth tones or what, but with a high, more like of a high pitch kind of drag out, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of a piano-based song, and this is actually a very New Orleans song. and it's based on being new to New Orleans